Hey guys, welcome to another Unity tutorial video. In this video we're just going to kind of go over the topic of how did public variables change my life. And this is something kind of beneficial in workflow, and I'll get into that. And if these videos have been helping you out, just go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button down below. That would make it so you don't miss anything out on the channel, and it benefits me too. So lets me know what you guys like and all kinds of other things. So, examples of public variables, we'll start with that, and these are variables basically that you can see. It could be a float variable, which I believe is like, digits. It could be string, which is a name, word, and of course we have true and false. Could also symbolize 0, 1, on, off, but the boolean. Okay. So these you can actually see if you're running the game simulation or the gameplay. Having these are beneficial because let's say this tank here is going too fast for some reason, and let's say there is a credible fear going on. Right now it's not doing anything because the script is not on. So if I turn it on, then there's a credible threat. So let's say that for some reason this was a little too slow. Well, going into Unity I could change that because I've got the public variable for speed literally right here. So if it was going too slow I could set it at 2.5 or maybe 7. Let's see what happens with 7. And if I go ahead and unstop the game, whoa, okay, yeah, there's a problem. The tank is literally underneath me. The tank is going like way too fast. 0 to 60 in like 0.1 second. And I can't get away. So this is too fast. Yeah. So I can go back in and change that again and change it back to, let's say, 2.5. And if we go back to gameplay or the scene camera, if I can get away, and now it's getting pretty close, but it's a little too fast now. So I could just say, well, you know what, actually it was a little slow, but maybe I'll just adjust it to 2.2. If this wasn't a public variable, I couldn't do this. If it was set to private, it wouldn't be available to the public or the user. So it's kind of like a level of security thing in programming. And if I go back in and now it feels like it's a credible threat, but I need to be on my toes and I should be fine. As long as this thing isn't shooting at me, I should be fine. Or, I don't got any weapons on this. So that's one example of a public variable, and it makes it easier. So if I wanted to dial in the numbers in real time, real gameplay time, I could dial them in as the gameplay simulation runs on. Problem is with all this, there's also a downfall. As soon as I stop the game, notice how the change undid itself. So yes, you can find out exactly what you're doing, what you need to do for, the setting of your public variable. You can place it in, but you're still gonna have to write it down somewhere or remember, and then once the gameplay starts, add that in. Okay, so same thing goes for strings. You can put in literally, let's say, tank GRP, and that would be relayed back to a program, or I should say a script. And you can go in and just say if say object name equals tank grp. You can say print the tank goes boom. This will print this message to console, and before we go, we'll send it back over to Unity itself. changes take effect. Okay, and so right now I'll just leave it empty. Okay, and I'll run the game. So I'll say tank GRP. So, a little bit different because I didn't have that in there. I didn't have the script activated. It actually threw me for a loop for a second. So we see the message printed out. Now if I notice how the count stopped, so that section of the code, that block of the code isn't being implemented. But as soon as I type it in, boom, the tank goes boom. Okay. Alright, and so if this video is helping you out, like, comment, and subscribe. And that reminds me we have to go over booleans. So let's go over to that too. If we go over to our boolean, which is true and false, we have a public bool, which is called subscribe. So, yes, I'm using that as a hook. So we could set it, usually it's always false when you're beginning, okay? Any boolean is set to like default false. It always will be false. It's part of computer science. Sometimes that's not true. If something is changing it at the immediate startup, it'll always be false. So it'll change it true, but yeah. If we have a simple statement of if and else you don't need to put it in there. It is kind of like a default thing. If and else, I'll go into that later, but let's say if subscribe was turned on to true, print out the console, thanks for subscribing, you are awesome. Okay, and this was just our tank GRP, which is a whole other matter. So if we go back to the game, we can basically clear this out, and this too because it's distracting. This is our boolean. If I hit the check mark, boom. So that doesn't mean you're subscribed, but yeah. So I met the condition and literally printed that out. This doesn't work just for only printing out messages. This can also work for particular actions or events for happening, or certain things for being destroying. I know I did that for a game recently. I used a bunch of booleans to act like a breaker box that eventually led to a particular event happening. So the benefit of public variables is that basically that you can have this changed in live time or in playtime, or play testing, and you don't gotta sit there and go back and forth between Visual Studio and then Unity and checking to make sure you got the name right, and that could get really just cumbersome and just a lot of issues, especially late at night. If you have it all localized to one section, like right here in the inspector, which would be public variables, then that would just make your life a lot more simpler. Of course, just beware that as soon as you hit play, it could be that not only the script is off, but these numbers or the name or the fact that subscribe is false, which if you haven't subscribed, go ahead. It helps me out a lot. It'll be undone. So it just saves a lot of time in general. Sometimes you can't have it as a public variable because things happen. There's also a protected variable, and that's a whole other matter. But that's pretty much what I have to say. It was a real quick video on that and how it could change your life. One, just more higher accuracy, better proofreading in scripts, just easier workflow, and just it saves a lot of time. So anyways, thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day.